Welcome to our evening transmission. This is Delhi. Please stand by for our next program.
This is All India Radio. You will now hear comments from the press. The Times of India, in its editorial titled Go Modi Sarkar, writes, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second term in office comes at a time of great political and economic churn across the globe. Meeting these challenges became just a little bit easier with a phenomenal mandate that will ensure a stable and strong government for the next 5 years. Yet even a dominant government can end up with a stint in power that's ordinary or worse. This is where Modi has been gifted a second opportunity by voters to chart a more purposeful course. The fresh mandate is not just for continuity. The emphatic nature of the NDA victory is a green signal from the electorate for Modi to bite the reform bullet. The Indian Express, in its editorial titled Economy is Not Well, says India's economic growth slowed to a 20-quarter low of 5.8% in the fourth quarter of 2018-2019, well below expectations. Growth for the full year came at 6.8%, the slowest pace in the last 5 years, according to data released by the Central Statistics Office CSO. While leading indicators had pointed towards sluggish economic activity, the slowdown is deeper and more entrenched than was believed, with both consumption and investment weakening. Coupled with recent data, these numbers would suggest that economic activity is likely to continue to be subdued in the first half of the current financial year as well. The Economic Times, in its editorial titled Force Be With You, Nirmala Sitharaman, writes, New Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has her task cut out. Revive the growth momentum that has been sagging off late, both because of global headwinds and stubbornly low investment at home. She has some things going for her as well. She is a trained economist to begin with. That equips her to appreciate that economy-wide inflation of approximately 4.5% as measured by the GDP deflator, leading indicators that spell a growth slowdown, glum corporate earnings for sequential quarters, and a monetary policy committee that is chary of bold policy rate changes call for a jolt of finance ministry action. The Jalan Committee report on RBI's reserves could gift the government with a bonanza of surplus reserves that should be used solely for recapitalizing the banks at one go. That would strengthen them to start lending again once projects come up. The Tribune, in its editorial titled Pathetic Schools, says it is a matter of concern that the governments continue to fail our school children. For when the children perform poorly in exams, it is more due to fault lines in the education ecosystem that we have given them than any lack of ability in the students. Barely had the euphoria over the excellent results of Class 10th Punjab School Education Board exams earlier this month settled, than now comes a downer. Only 32% of the government school students have qualified for admission to the 10 meritorious schools in the state. This poor show is shocking because the cream, students scoring 70% or more, takes this test. It is this lot that had pushed the results of government schools in Punjab northwards and, in a first, even bettered the private schools in the Class 10th PSEB exams. Sound primary education is fundamental not only to the growth and future of a child, but also of the nation. At the core of this sector is a competent teacher. The governments would do well to invest money in identifying, training, and ensuring that conscientious teacher recruits become nation builders. The Hindu, in its editorial titled A Second Election, writes, when the results of the April elections in Israel were announced, Benjamin Netanyahu, whose Likud party won 35 seats in the 120-member parliament, was the winner. He was set to form a government with support from right-wing and religious parties to kick off a record term as prime minister. But his plans crumbled as the ultra-orthodox Jewish parties and right-wing nationalist Israel Beiteinu failed to come on board. When the deadline to form the government expired on May 29th, Mr. Netanyahu had the support of 60 lawmakers, one short of majority. For the first time in Israel's history, a prime minister designate failed to form a government, and the country will go to the polls again in September. The Financial Express, in its editorial titled Plastic Burden, writes, 25 Indian states will have to pay a pollution compensation of 1 crore each per month of delay to the Central Pollution Control Board for failing to submit their action plans on systematic disposal of plastic waste. The CPCB had moved the National Green Tribunal over the states not